This video is about, I've already talked about the cars. Now this is going to be about me being questioned by the FBI in person at Starbucks. When I was about 32 years old, I was I was about 32 to 33 years old. Could have been 35, so it could have been more about 33 to 34. But I was there for about 6 months. And I was about 33 to 34 years old. Could have been 32 because it was so long ago. I'm 42 years old now, and today is May 28th, 2026. So that's just about almost 10 years ago. I was in Anchorage, Alaska after a murder attempt was placed on me, and I was very terrorized. I was beat up real bad, knife pulled up to my throat. I was being kicked in the face, throat punched in the back of the head, thrown around. They tried pulling my pants down like they were going to rape me, and they kept me from running, and I couldn't run to run away. And this was at a cemetery, and my head was being stomped, and and I was covered in blood, and they robbed me, and I absolutely did do anything. These three black guys showed up, and they were stalking me, and they actually started to say things that they knew who I was. So after the beating lasted, I was covered in blood. I was terrorized. I was barely struggling to make it back to the house because I couldn't believe that this had happened to me. And I was thinking that I could have been murdered out here and left for dead. And I walked to my mother's house, or her boyfriend's house at the time, knocked on the door, showed up on the front porch, and I was covered in blood. And she said, "What happened?" I said, "There was three black guys that just jumped at me." And on my way walking there was a police officer that drove by that was laughing and made remarks and smirks because there was so much attention in all the place that was going on. My mother said, "Why don't you call the police?" I said, "No, I don't want to call the police because if they go to prison, they're going to come after me again, and they're going to go after you and Marco. They're going to go," and Marco, my brother at the time, was about 14 or 15 years old. And he was maybe even younger than that. I want to say, he was about 13. I don't think he was about 14. He was about 11 years to 12 years old. Marco was about 11 to 12 years old. And I didn't want someone to come harm them because of what somebody had done to me, because now they're sitting in prison and they wanted to get away with attempted murder and to signal their threat. So after like a month or so, or whatever months, I went to Denver. From Denver, I went to Alaska to get away and not come back to Dallas for a long time, on the run to get away from what was happening. When I get to Anchorage, Alaska, I'm there for, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months. I get a mysterious phone call out of nowhere. And this guy calls me and he says his name, and I don't even remember his name. It was just a guy, and he says he's an FBI. He works for the FBI, and he says that he'd like to talk to me about a few things that's going on. And I kind of get nervous, because I had posted a lot of stuff on Facebook, but at this point nobody seemed to be listening, and I still believed at that time people could have been hacking, but I wasn't getting any help from the police department. If people saw or cared enough to know my efforts to go to the police, and how many police offices I went to, and how many police officers I tried to ask for help, and they completely dropped zero, did not want to help me, did not, just wanted to throw me in a mental hospital, deny me any law enforcement, and just make a joke out of it, like smirk and kind of like, "You think you're gonna mess with us? I'll throw your worthless life in jail, you piece of shit." Like, that's exactly how they behaved, because I was pissed off because I was raped, and I had all these tickets, and I started to post someplace Facebook because that's exactly who it was. It was the gay community, and the gay community entirely runs the police department, and they take out anybody they want. They're on our payroll. So all these people at my job sites and all these things would just contact their buddy police officers and say, "Go give Hector some tickets, we'll show him who's boss." And that's exactly what the police officers would do. They were doing favors for people that they knew nothing about, and just to target me. And I was a prior cancer patient. They didn't care. So he gives me a call, and I'm thinking he probably knows, like, he's watched my Facebook and probably seen all these postings. He says, "I want to come talk to you. Can we meet up somewhere? Can we meet up at a Starbucks?" And it was down the street from where I was staying at the shelter. And I was staying at a shelter there, and it was like sometime, I want to say like in August or October, maybe even July. I would say it was somewhere between September and October. And but I want to say more like October, because it wasn't entirely really cold. It was kind of warm, and could have been, yeah, it was maybe August. So anyway, I go there, and it's like maybe 1 o'clock during the day, and I give him a call. I said, "I'm just arrived," and he tells me, and he's sitting at a table inside the Starbucks that you see here in this area, here in this posting of Facebook. And when I speak to the FBI, I sit down a total of about 25 minutes, and he begins to tell me, he goes, "Are you Emiliano?" I go, "We work for the FBI. My name is yada yada, and this is so and so." And it was a blonde, pretty woman. It was a pretty blonde girl, and she was a real woman. She was a 100% authentic woman. She was short, petite, kind of thick, very pretty. The guy that I spoke to was a Mexican guy, a little short, tiny Mexican guy. He showed me their FBI badges, that they work for the FBI, and I had said, okay. He says, "I wanted to talk to you because there's a lot of people that made a lot of reports about you, about there were some things that were going on with you. There was a lot of people that called the FBI." So I was very happy about that. When he said that, I was kind of like happy, thinking that maybe somebody was going to believe me and listen to me at first. But I was like, this could be dangerous. I could be going to prison or jail because I don't know my rights, and I just know that the things that are going on in the world that I live in has terrorized me so far to the point where I really don't want to tell anybody anything anymore, especially when it comes to the police department, because the police department has retaliated against me at such a personal level. They're not listening to anything. They're just wanting to retaliate against me with the grouping of the gay community. So I was talking to him, and he said, "Oh, okay." And he goes, "So what do you know about," and he sort of changed the subject, and he said something like, "What do you know about terrorists?" He goes, "You kind of look like one of these guys, but here, let me show you a picture." And he says, "We're looking for some terrorists, people that are organizing some bombs and secret missiles, and you kind of look like a terrorist, And he pulled out this piece of paper, and it had like the faces of 6, 7, 8 different type of Taliban, Al-Qaeda Taliban members." And I'm like, and I tell him, and I said, he goes, "Why are you giving?" I tell him, I said, "Why are you giving me this?" He goes, I'm Mexican. I speak Spanish. I was born in the U.S. I was born in Dallas. We're born and raised in Dallas. And the conversation was very light, and I told him I work for printing companies. I DJ'd for a little while. The entire time that I talked to him for only 20 or 25 minutes, I am absolutely terrified that I do not want to tell him how I really feel about, or how I really feel about the circumstances. I'm terrorized about, well, who's beating the shit out of me with these electronic devices? Who's placing them? Who's following me? And why are they following me? Why is my life so interested to these people who have nothing more to do than fucking target me? Why aren't they focusing on their dreams and goals and ambitions and helping the world, or doing something than just to focus on me and be parasitical to any emotional and drama and mental and being as a human being, just like a fucking blood-sucking parasite, just to want to sink their teeth into fucking me and suck the life out of me. And it was only gays and transgenders that were doing this, and I didn't want to tell this guy because I was scared. I was scared to tell this guy what was really happening because I didn't want even harder retaliations. I'm 32, 33 years old, and I'm scared. Like, I can't even tell you, like, even before I got there, even after, people were charging at me when I was walking up and down the streets to get to the college, to the homeless shelter, from the homeless shelter to the college, to the gas station. I could never tell you how bad the circumstances really were and how targeting, harassing it was, and terrorized me even more to stay quiet. And I had been threatened multiple times by the gay community and the people that were targeting me and causing so much chaos to not say anything. They told me to keep my mouth shut or else they were going to do something to me. And they would walk by me and say, stay quiet or else you know who's going to fucking get you. And so when they would do this, like there was a heavy network between the homosexuals and all the gays. They would find one person that was connected to Connected, or they would somehow bond like the blacks do in prison or the white KKK does with the police officers. And then they would get them to sort of use then the law against me or retaliate or to drive by me when they knew my location. And so then the people that were following me and stalking me would keep doing this repeatedly to let me know that they were in charge. It had nothing to do with the police. So they were just personal servants. So then I couldn't ask for help for anything, because as soon as I even released more information, you got to understand, when a police officer isn't concerned about your well-being in life, and you can tell by looking at them how they're expressing themselves, is just to get away from them. That's how they're looking to kill people, throw them in a cage so you can die, shoot them, or just persecute. They're not really concerned about who's harming you that should not be harming you. Maybe to gays, but for me, it was, I don't like this guy. This guy know who Michael Jackson is. He's heard our Ken Cooper. He's the one that talked bad about this person. We fight for the gays, and we're going to go against the straights, and the gays dominate the straights. And it was constantly always that vibe, always that momentum. No matter how polite, respective, like I would almost be on my knees begging to the police officer. I'm like, can you help me? Can you do this? And he's like, are you on medication? And then he'd spit on the ground, let you know who really police officers for the gay. And it was so violating because I was genuinely asking for help. So, and all they were interested in is deny me and shrug off by using legal law enforcement talk to say, shut your mouth or I'll take you to the, crazy house. I'll take you to the psychiatric ward. And you stay there for 10 days, they try to drug you up. I've actually had people, when I was trying to explain to them that I had a murder attempt, I've had people run inside a fucking... You ever seen where people in movies where... gosh, this is even a nightmare to even think of, where there's like 10 people that tackle you and hold you down and they put like tranquilizer in you. That's exactly what they did to me before. And I don't know, I don't think it was in Alaska. Was I in Alaska when that happened? And I was explaining to them, I said, look, I had a murder attempt, I'm running, they're tracking my phones, they are following me, and there is a huge public amount of attention that's happening in the world that I live in, and I don't want to be a part of it. I'm trying to start my life over. I'm trying to move on away from this public eye, and I'm 33, 32 years old. I want to start my life over. I don't want to be part of this public eye. I want to live a normal life. I want to be able to have a normal job where I get to go for 7 or 8 hours a day for a job that I enjoy. Not necessarily just enjoy, but to have a full day of things, but have a job and live a normal life. Have a dog, have a house, have an apartment, have a car. And that was not going to happen. So, anyway, but when I spoke to these, I left, and that was it. I spoke to them 20, 25 minutes. I wanted to tell that FBI agent and that woman, like, can you please help me? I'm having all these people attack me. You don't understand. The police officers keep telling me that I'm just crazy. The police officers are just wanting to say that he's crazy, he's on medication, he's crazy. You want to go to the psychiatric ward, and they just keep doing that. And every time, and these police officers know who the fuck I am. I've been arrested by so many times in the police department, they fucking knew who I was. And I was like, look, I'm not joking when I say this. I do not like being in the public eye. I'm not a celebrity. I don't care for being a celebrity. I stopped DJing when I was fucking 24, 25 years old. I actually, at that time, I think I deactivated my Facebook completely. When I was in Alaska, I hardly ever used Facebook for a period of time, or even had an Instagram. I don't even think if I had an Instagram at that time. I may have, but I wasn't using social media, and so I deactivated all my Facebook account and social media for a while when I was in Alaska, just to not be a part of any of it, and it still fucking followed me, and that's why I had to keep on active with this. And because my life is very worthless to these people. So I wanted to desperately tell them and say, look, can you please help me? I'm not crazy. Start a private investigation. Do something about what these people are doing to me. They're shooting me. They're beating me. They're making me shit on command. They're doing some really heinous things with some sort of frequency electronic devices that I am not sure exactly how they work or where they're being placed, but I know somebody is placing them because they've been hired to target me, and this is only coming from the gay community. It is not from anybody that's straight. It is not coming from any straight woman. It is only from the homosexuals and transgenders, only from them. And I have built such a momentum of hatred toward me that they have been addicted and parasitically obsessed over me and wanting to control me and dismantle me with these electronic devices, knowing that they can't get caught or ever get caught, that it just drives me crazy until the end of my life. And they're never going to be held responsible for a homicide or murder or kidnapping. I think you could possibly, if the police officers found these electronic devices and they targeted and did a full FBI investigation and arrested people, you could possibly be held for kidnapping. You are holding somebody confined to an environment that otherwise they really can't make their natural born choices, because you're shooting them and violating them with some sort of electronic device because you want to control them. You're holding them hostage, and you're sort of you're holding them hostage is what you're doing, because it seems this person knows what you're doing to them, and you're abusing them. You're almost kind of kidnapping them so that you can't ever get caught, and you're doing this to me. How many people could you have used these electronic devices and killed other people while they're driving their car, making them cross the street, all kinds of different things, and you killed people this way? So, but like I said, I've never had any luck with any of the law enforcement, so that was the situation with that, so I thought I'd make a video on that. I really wanted to tell, you have no idea how scary, what was really happening. I really wanted to say what was really happening, but I was so scared because of threats, because they were telling me not to say anything or else they're gonna, you know what.